Hey, welcome everybody to podcast number 79. I'm your host, Kerry Kreitz. 5-Pin Universe bringing you another podcast. We got the Wiseman twins and everybody's favorite interviewer, DB, with his new Christmas sweater.
Yeah, boys. We got a few more in the closet. You can keep going here. We're good.
That shirt looks like it came out of the same era as your soul patch.
Yeah, who's that NBA announcer that passed away?
Craig Sager.
That's who you are, buddy. That's who you are.
Actually, to Dex, you said that this is it looks the same age. It's brand new. Like this is a new one that my wife bought me for the holiday season. So.
That's awesome. It's coming back. Yeah. Is the soul patch coming back too?
Soul patch is coming back. Yeah. Nice. The flow is coming back. Yeah. A little bit of everything.
I like it. I like it. When are you gonna get your ear pierced?
Yeah, I had a piercing many years ago, and maybe you guys might know where it was. But.
Yeah. You're right. A little bit different from my ear.
I had two piercings. I had one for one day, and I had one for about 10 years. So.
All right. Moving on.
Next topic.
All right, so we're just going to flash a couple of graphics up here for our patrons. Once again, you can sign up for our Patreon at patreon.com/5pinuniverse for as little as $2 a month and help support us invest in new equipment and produce 5-pin bowling media for the future. And then right after that, we're going to do our weekly podcast sponsor, All-Star Bowling Sales by Shelby Crest. We are lucky enough that they are sponsoring us on weekly podcasts to help support this and keep it growing.
Oh, look at that guy down at the bottom.
Yeah, finally invested.
Yeah, well, I don't know where Daryl's name is. I've been looking on.
I think we saw an e-transfer last week. So,
okay.
All right. All right, so we're going to bring in our special guest of the week here. If people don't know, he's a free fall lover for sure. A past Pepsi Cola champion for our audience that doesn't know. That was a YBC event way back in the day. I think it was high school event, was it not?
I think so.
We may have to get Shaun to answer that question.
Yeah, that was more.
All right, we'll bring him in here.
Hey guys.
Eby.
Hey buddy.
Hey Shaun.
In the house.
The Pepsi-Cola was actually the youth challenge.
It was a youth challenge, yeah.
65.
Yeah.
Wasn't it also Coca-Cola before that, or did they?
I think it was the Pepsi-Cola, and I went Coca-Cola for maybe 1 year. I don't know.
Did you ever happen to play in the high school championships? I know
No.
that was a thing back in the day.
No.
Yeah, that was before his time.
That was before my. Well, you know what was probably going on when I first started, but I was definitely not in high school then.
Right.
Well, thanks for joining us today, Shaun. Coming all the way from Nanaimo, BC, out in the West Coast. So I know it's 6:00, and you're probably hoping to have your dinner served to you any minute now. Probably.
Oh, no. You know what? The redhead's coming in here now.
Yeah, the family's been told to stay away, right? But
yeah.
I think they've been pre-warned that a game coming up at 8:00, 7:00 your time, playing What's My Score. Looking forward to that. I know you've got somebody that's watching you on the big screen right now that's going to be ready to play a little bit later. So your shake and bake partner is going to be playing. So gonna have a good game later on. But looking forward to having a good chat with Shaun Eby. So, Shaun, tell us a little bit about where did you get into bowling? I mean, we want to go way back a little bit and chat quickly there. Sure. Actually, sorry guys, let's chat a bit about. I'm going to cut you off there, Eby. The first thing on the agenda was 8-gamer, right? Tim and Dexter are like, wait, what about my scores on 8-gamer? Let's do a quick update on the 8-gamer. So, Kerry, you want to explain a little bit about the change we made on Monday.
Yeah. So we did another live stream on Monday evening, kind of going over the current results, the amount of entries in the 5-pin 8 gamer, and we've made a small change due to the amount of entries. We just didn't feel it was quite proper only to cut it off at the top 16 players. So we have expanded the field, or the playoff field, to the top 24, adding 8 extra spots and giving those provinces that are just opening up, if they get some games in, and Ontario, BC, I think they're full wide open still to play, to get those extra qualifying scores in and pump those numbers up.
Good stuff. I see we've got a bunch of guys playing on the weekend, or 17th, going to Dawson Creek to play with guys from Grand Prairie. And no, Dexter, you know a lot of those guys are going to go play there.
Yeah, a lot of and good shooters, man. I mean, Robert Tompkins is a hell of a shooter. Scott Carter Stretch has been bowling really good this year too. Gerald a hack, but he supports, so it's good. You know, the other mullet guy, Dustin, he's going out too. Like, there's some good shooters out there, so it's nice to see them have an opportunity. Nice to see Poco in there too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Nice. So what do we got for registrations now? We're up to
133.
133. So we had talked there on Sunday that we'd like to fit 150, 160. So there's likely chance of even more. So it's good to see people getting their entries in of playing there. And Sasha Latondra there, 2270. Nice finish for her.
Absolutely.
That's a boy.
Yeah.
Nice finish for him.
For him. Sorry, I didn't know that. I should probably do research on that.
Daryl's on his A game tonight.
Dude, I'm out.
Hey guys, you got the show? You're good?
I believe Sasha's Darcy Latondra's son.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
Did you guys even know that, Dex and Tim? So you just
I knew that. I just want to see you do that. Yeah.
Honestly, no.
Yeah. Connor, are you going to play a shift out there? Is Brecken and Nimo, are they open on the island, guys? And the girls going to get a game in?
We are. It will be next week, or no, hang on, not next week. The following week. I have to practice first.
Is there what are the COVID restrictions on the island for the lanes and even any of those restrictions?
Well, it's interesting. In the Nanaimo, Ray, we ran lead starting in September, and basically the single team to a set of lanes. We were allowed to alternate. Down in Duncan, however, the WorkSafe officer, I think, came in there, and basically they restricted them to a single lane. So they had 5 players playing on one lane, and then empty lane, active lane, empty lane. But Ray had WorkSafe in and went through the same program and setup, and they felt that as long as you didn't have more than 6 on a set, you were fine. So what Ray did is he made an AM and a PM, or not an AM PM, but a 2-shift, 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock start time, and basically sanitized the lanes between those shifts, and everybody was cool with that.
Nice.
Yeah, no different than we had out here. So yeah, it worked out fine. And we had no complaints out here with that kind of way it was working. So
yeah, having
and no cases.
And no what?
And no cases. We had no transmission as far as we are aware of in a bowling alley in Alberta, really.
I mean, the island out of BC, I mean, we were almost quarantined ourselves. We've had very, very few cases on a daily basis. Even now, I think we're anywhere from as low as maybe 7 or 8 to as high as 20 on a given day for the island.
Right.
The Lower Mainland has definitely been a little bit more of a challenge for.
And that's the whole island. Now, how far again is Nanaimo away from, say, Victoria?
It's 110 kilometers.
Right. So you're an hour up the coast.
You're a good hour.
Yeah. So even less cases in Nanaimo itself then? And are you like full?
I think it's right from the island. Almost we sort of south, central, and northern island, which is broken out, is actually pretty consistent.
Right. Now, remind us, Shaun, what do you do for work, and what sort of restrictions are you having there at work? Are you masking and all that?
Well, I work at a veneer mill. I've been working there for 24 years now. Worked myself up from cleanup all the way up to production, or pardon me, mill manager now, through production to mill manager. So I'm basically, I answer to no one there at the plant. And unfortunately, we've got some people on one side of the spectrum who think mask wearing is a terrible thing, and then you got the other guys who say we're not doing enough. In the 24 years I've been at our facility, which is 24/7 operation, we have only experienced downtime as a result of COVID. All other downtime that we've taken is maintenance related. So if it's not a maintenance scheduled shut, we're running. We do take time between Christmas and New Year's. And for the forest industry here in BC and on the West Coast, I'm proud to say we're an anomaly to the whole industry. The company is privately owned. Bob Shields, his father purchased the company very early on, and Bob was taken over, and all 280 employees that are working for Coastland are pretty happy people.
Right. So you're producing lumber,
veneer.
Oh.
So veneer, if for a simple part, if you look at plywood, each layer that's in there is a layer of veneer. So we peel Douglas fir. Douglas fir is a very strong wood, so it's used in plywood. It's also used in engineered wood products. So your glulam beams and LVL and Paralam and all sorts of specialty plywoods. So we make the veneer, we dry the veneer, and then we sell it to customers throughout the Pacific Northwest.
So you're not the reason that lumber tripled last year, then?
No, we're very happy because of that. Actually, you know what? It's a combination of things. COVID, COVID has pummeled South America, so there's not panels getting into the States, and then all the fires on the Washington State, Oregon State, California, and then COVID in the States as well, making everybody stay at home. So instead of spending their dollars on holidays, they're spending their dollars on their homes. Yeah. So as a result, there's been a huge demand, and that's where things have gone.
Hence, my garage has not started.
Yeah, there's plenty of fun.
And I'm just building a house, so yeah.
Well, we'll wrap up there. So the 8 gamer, we were talking about that. So anybody across the country that can still bowl, get your games in. There's plenty of places to still play. Obviously, stay safe, stay healthy, get your registrations in. Make sure your center is registered if you want to go play there. I want to quickly chat though. Saskatchewan, there was a little bit of confusion with us guys today, and anybody out there in the comments can share with us what rule is Saskatchewan under. Some of us had thought that it was completely shut down, but from what also research tells us that they're available for drop-in play. So anybody that can help with that, do you guys know any more about those 3?
The only reason it came up is we actually seen some advertising from Golden Mile Bowl for some Christmas specials for drop-in. So I guess that kind of perked my ears. I'm wondering why we're not seeing, some play out of there. But I understand times are tough, and maybe they got some other thoughts. Maybe they're busy with drop-in too. That could be.
Lanny won't know, he's too baked right now.
Yeah, I don't know, because I know Lloyd is shut down.
Yeah, Lloyd
is shut down. So I wonder if it's like regional or whatnot.
Maybe Regina guys might know.
Yeah, Jen Haas is usually on here. She might know Yorkton, right? But yeah, I mean, if you can bowl in Saskatchewan and you can do a drop-in, we'd love to see some entries out of there to get your center registered in Golden Mile or any of these guys. Saskatoon, plenty of them there, right? So we'd love to get some entries in. Hey, we'll make a trip to Saskatoon safely. Work trip, guys.
That's right.
Right.
Closer than Boston.
Travel on a big Greyhound bus, all separated.
Yeah, so it's same as BC. Chelsea said. So I mean,
Yeah.
Lenny, just get a cut knife all signed up there.
Yeah.
We'll come to you, and you got the good stuff. So
Yeah, you hopefully you got a place for us to stay, Lenny. All right, let's go back to where we started. Shaun, let's go back to you. And where did this all start for you, bowling wise, way back in the day? Tell us more.
My grandparents. Actually, I guess I've got 5 brothers. We're sort of the Brady bunch. My mom had the 2 oldest. My dad had the middle 2, and then came together and had Dennis and I. None of them, other than Dennis bowls or bowled. The 4 older ones, they played a variety of sports, whether it be lacrosse, hockey, predominantly, a little bit of soccer. But I did play lacrosse for a little bit, but I ended up losing my temper with a stick. And so my mom elected to take Dennis and I, and we no longer played any sort of team sport that way. We went into karate and we went into bowling. So my grandparents took Dennis and I down.
Full contact in karate to no contact in bowling.
Extremes.
The upper and downers. Yeah.
Discipline. Well, you got to realize that Dennis and I, being the youngest ones, we got beat on a lot.
Yeah.
My next older brother was 4 years older than myself, and then it was basically 2 years apart for each one of them. So, yeah, we got beat on.
Now you said grew up in Metchosin. Where is Metchosin? Nice and close to there?
Metchosin is west of Victoria. It's heading towards Souk.
Okay.
It's about a half hour from Souk, it's a half hour to Souk and half hour to downtown Victoria, where the center was.
And what was the center that you played at back then?
Town and Country Sports Bowl.
And Town and Country, that was free fall. Carrie had mentioned earlier.
It was free fall, double diamond. It was part of the sports bowl chains. So Morley Entertainment owned a number of the sports bowls. So I want to say that there was 12 or 16 centers in all. And I mean, there was even a sports bowl out in Lethbridge. So there's Kelowna, Tsawwassen, North Shore, Middlegate, which is in Burnaby, Old Orchard Lanes, Jarvis family, Port Moody, and there were more.
And were they all free fall lanes?
Yeah, they were all, I want to say they were like 16, 20, or 24 lane centers.
Yeah.
And they were all double diamond.
And double diamond is the brand. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, double diamond was the brand.
And there's none of those left, Shaun?
Well, North Shore just closed, right? Town and Country, it's last year. It got replaced by Uptown Center. It got replaced in 2008. We had the final BC Open Provincials there. I think it was 2005, and we really gave the team that ended up going back and winning nationals that year was Fraser Valley South. And we literally, it was a bitter loss because we used to play the page format. So first and second played. We qualified second, and third and fourth played. The winner of 3-4 played the loser of 1-2. Well, we won that match, and we go on to the final match, and there was myself, Don Campbell, Joe Cranabetter, and then there was a couple of characters there who honestly you never recognize it. There's 3 of them. I mean, Glenn Masick, Ian Bull, and Danny Turgeon. We were a good group of guys, and yeah, we ended up, we held our own right till about the 10th frame. And actually, there's a good side to this and a bad side of it. The bad side is that Joe Cranabetter wins singles that year. He played very, very well in the singles, And quite honestly, he played mediocre on the team. And, you know, after the fifth frame, Joe's got 70 in 5. And, you know, he just comes off the winning the singles. And, you know, he just ran out of some gas there.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
and we lost the total there by 20 pins.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we were done. But that, I mean, or 25 pins, I think it was. But no, I mean, it was sort of. I didn't qualify. I was 6th on the singles that year. I was very upset not making the step ladder to be able to play at Town and Country.
Yeah.
Right. Joe's ball was pretty perfect for free fall centers, was it not?
Mhm.
Just that
Joe could play wherever. Joe could play if you put a rock into his hand. And he could figure out one way of getting it there to throw a single strike. He could figure it out and to throw 12. I mean,
yeah. Unfortunately, I kind of played against Joe when he was kind of at the end of his competitive, real super competitive side. He played the Autumn Open a few times at the start of my career, and he was still lights out. Like he would throw 270 no problem and make cuts, and pretty incredible.
Well, the
Joe actually went away to become a monk, and he was away from bowling for several years. And he came back. There was a 15-game tournament in Chilliwack, and literally Joe wasn't playing league or anything. I mean, it's almost like a Bruce Waters kind of story. He literally picked up the ball, went into Chilliwack, and threw 4,600 for his 15 games.
Oh my God!
Wow.
So I was just like,
Yeah.
I remember because didn't he just drive everywhere? He just picked up his vehicle. I mean, he drove to Regina the couple of years. I remember he used to go out there.
Tofino to Nanaimo is like a 3.5-hour drive.
Yeah.
Joe, in his later years, he settled on the fact that he had to bowl with the seniors, so he'd come to Nanaimo. He bowled weekly for Ray. I don't know if Ray's watching, but one or 2 seasons.
Yeah,
7 hours a day to bowl one league.
Yeah, I got.
That's awesome.
Now, wasn't Dick Borgenstrom from the same area, or where was Dick from? Vancouver.
Dick's from Vancouver. Dick was a millwright in North Shore. He played out of North Shore with Richard Grubb. But I mean, they all bowled in the Commodore All-Star League, or the whatever the league was there. And Joe would go across on the ferry and join in on their. I forget what night it was. It was either a Thursday or a Friday night. But Joe would go across and bowl in a league over there with the guys.
And taking that ferry is not cheap.
Oh no. Actually, I was one of the things. I mean, you know, when it came to tournaments, when I was coming through the youth program, there were tons of tournaments, and there were tournaments in the Lower Mainland. I mean, my parents used to take myself and my brother and a couple of the other youth bowlers. We go hop on the ferry and go bowl in a 10-game scratch singles in Cloverdale. Now, we were able to catch like the first ferry, and at that time it was a 7 o'clock boat. We were there for the 9:30 start. So Ray Walsh, you know, he was always accommodating for us. And, you know, if the ferry ran a little bit late, he'd always hold the start time for us, right? So we go across. It was like the crossing then with like, there was 6, 7 of us, I guess, was like $65.
Yeah.
Like, including the vehicle.
What a great way to travel as a group back then. That's unreal memories, I'm sure.
Yeah, now just car and driver is $60.
Well, exactly. And if you have to go there and then back for a night of bowling, you're spending $150 to go bowling.
Oh yeah. So a lot of the tournaments, you always you have to judge yourself and go, okay, so if I'm going to go across there and I'm going to spend X number of dollars to bowl, and the travel, I mean, honestly, it's almost cheaper. Well, it is cheaper to actually fly to Edmonton under some scenarios than it is for me to singly get in a vehicle and drive across to Vancouver.
For now, yeah, for sure. Wow. Now I'm not sure many people remember, but do you remember your first bowling, your first ball that you threw?
Yeah. My grandparents took us down, and Glenn and Edith. My grandma was very particular, and we listened to her. I mean, respect. And I want to say I was 8 or 9 years old. But I was a boy. Anyway, we went down the lanes, and I mean, they had the orange ball return, and I loved rolling the balls around. And I wasn't allowed to do that. I had to sit. Anyway, so when it came to my turn, she got up there. Now she goes, "Now you listen." And we walked up the foul line, and she goes, "Put one foot there and one foot here," and told me to look down the center arrow, and you take the ball and go like this. And anyway, the very first ball I threw was a strike. I do distinctly remember, and it was just a tumble.
Wow.
I don't know how everybody's memories work, but my memory is pretty graphic. So I do. I'm better off recalling things that I've seen or experienced than things that I've been told.
It sounds like we've got some fans in there that know that you remember everything. So
I'm not even looking at the comments.
Let's see some of the other little stories people want us to ask. Shaun Eby's been. Let's hear the Converse sweatpants.
Converse sweatpants, Yeah. Okay.
Steve was just waiting. Yeah.
I did. I wore sweatpants, and Steve has to chuckle about that all the time because they were cuffed at the bottom, right? So they were.
Oh.
And so if I was wearing white socks, you saw the white socks. I mean,
I don't think. Oh, I thought there was a better story than that. Not just the fact that you.
Well, no, I continued to wear Converse sweatpants probably until I was about 20 years old, I guess. Or when Jen and I finally sort of got together, she said enough of those.
Yeah, I think. We're talking about making 510U merchandise, so I think maybe we'll make something that says Converse down the side with an Eby. Right?
Hey, they were the in thing then.
Yeah. Looks like your lovely wife is also chirping you and Steve. So look, we got a bit of banter there. Let's hear a little bit about when. Do you remember meeting Jen? It's a few years ago. I have a pretty good story there. Tell us.
It was YBC. And I mean, it was the islands. We were bowling in Duncan, and I met her there. And then the YBC back then, and I'm sure that other provinces had similar provincial sort of programs that had each contingent travel on buses. It was no different on the island here. The BC was in actually 8 zones. So the island actually had two zones, and so the bus would start either in Nanaimo or Victoria, depending on where the bus was being rented from and when it was where it was located. Anyway, they'd either start in Victoria or start in Nanaimo, and they'd travel down the island and they pick up all the bowlers, and then we go on the bus across the ferry and all that, and yeah. So we met in YBC very young, and actually, at the time, I'll say that my first, I'll tell you, my first sort of girlfriend that I was sort of chasing around at that time wasn't actually Jen. It was Gloria McClellan. So that was actually Ron McClellan, who some of the bowlers out there would know. Ronnie Mac's daughter, Glorianne. So yeah, it was.
Now, did Jen play at the same? Like, were you guys played at the same bowling alley, YBC?
No, she's from Nanaimo. Jen's from Nanaimo. I'm from Victoria.
Gotcha.
As the story goes, I sort of chased her around for so many years, as I always tell her. Her sister knows that, and we never really sort of hooked up until it was
married.
It was in '95 is when we really hooked up, and there was a car ride from Nanaimo to Victoria that was involved. I'm sure that's going to come out because I'm just saying it now because Steve will end up throwing that out. And
you can plead the fifth. I'm not telling this.
Sorry?
I was just saying you can plead the fifth and not have to tell every story that Steve's going to bring up. Yeah.
I know that Steve's going to just go on it. So anyways, that's what we got together.
Yeah, I know he's sitting there watching his big screen right now, enjoying watching the threat. Yeah.
So, I mean that's sort of history. I mean, we met in YBC and we wrote letters back and forth. I mean, back then, letters were cheap relatively. I mean, it was like 20 cents a stamp. Phone calls, just to give you an idea, like a long distance call from Victoria to Nanaimo was like the first minute was like $1.50 or $2, and then each minute thereafter were like 75 cents a minute. Right.
So you trained pigeons to send letters?
No, I didn't write that many letters.
I want to know.
I mean, it was I had huge phone bills.
I want to know if Jen still has a shoebox of the old love letters that you guys used to exchange.
I know.
Yeah.
You know what? I love her dearly, but I don't think she's got any of that because she just everything's in house.
That's fun. Hey, let's go on to. We talked about the Pepsi before. Do you remember the Pepsis and how did that qualifying go down and who you would have played with?
The Pepsis back then. You know what? My memories of that. Steve was actually on the year that they won. I want to say it was 87 and I was 88, something like that. Basically, there was a zone trials. I mean, it's really no different than what the youth challenge is, except the youth challenge now is provincially done. But there was basically a zone play down, and then there was the provincial. And the provincials was then phoned in for a national, right? Anyway, I won the provincial. I won almost everything that one particular year. We have a Pacific Coast Championship, which you guys probably have similar in Alberta in certain areas. But we had 16 houses that would put a team in, and that team was basically a roster of 7 bowlers. Top 5 were like the men's or the boys or girls teams. And then 1, 2, 3, and 6 and 7 would be a mixed. And then, so you had mixed boys and girls teams, double substitutions for each of the team events, and top 5 singles or whatever it was.
Neat.
Anyway,
did you phone in your scores or you mail in your scores?
No, we actually all got together. So,
okay.
So that was like a provincial.
Like a provincial open.
It was only held in the Lower Mainland. It was all Lower Mainland teams and the island.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, there were a number of youth events that we played in. Then there was a number of youth cash tournaments.
Yeah.
It was a different time then. And there were a lot of bowlers. Like, I can't say that the pinfall back then was better than it is now. I actually think that the pinfall today is arguably better. But when I was in YBC, on the island, and I'm going to say the South Island, I'll include Steve in that sort of era. I mean, Steve is much older than I am. And but there was a handful of guys here on the island who were actually more than a handful. There was a dozen of us that were 245 plus. Now, I always get into the discussion about league play versus tournament play, and there's the differences there. But at the end of the day, if you're averaging 245 plus, it doesn't matter whether it's good pinfall or tougher pinfall. It's still good average. And at a youth level, I mean, you guys probably know Tom Moore. You probably heard of Tom Moore. Yeah. But there was Tom Moore who was basically, I think is a year older than Steve. And then there's Steve. There was a guy by the name of Trevor Hughes. And There was Anthony McCauley, myself, guy by the name of Chris Mackey. Chris Mackey, we thought of him as being the machine. I mean, he bowled like a machine. There was no emotion, no nothing. It's just, but we had, in the youth ranks, there were some very, very good bowlers when I look back at it. Where my daughter is today, there were a number of girls that arguably would have given her a really good run here on the island. I can honestly say that there isn't anybody of her caliber on the island now.
Yeah, it's a bit different.
You go back a couple of years, there isn't, and it's just that depletion of the athletes here is it's not just bowling, it's all sports.
Not a lot of number of bowling centers, unfortunately, have probably closed down, and it's the opposite.
We had 16 centers at one time on the island.
Yeah.
Wow.
We had the Vancouver Island Championship, which was 12 teams, and a similar format where you had 7-player contingents or 7 men, 7 women, and they played singles, mixed, and team events.
I want to one more tidbit about YBC. You had an interesting names that you played in YBC Nationals, so you would have been YBC, obviously. Were you?
Okay. We almost all got what do you call it?
All-Star TSN.
No.
Kicked out.
Yeah.
We're playing charades here, guys. What do we do?
What's the word that I'm looking for? It starts with an E. Disqualified.
Yeah.
Robert Chanis. We ended up getting all the competitors.
This is 1992.
1992. All of his dad. All of the competitors there were at his dad's house, along with Jim Llewellyn.
Your senior boys, obviously.
Yeah. And we were playing pot bowling until about 2:00 in the morning, and then we got into trouble. I mean, we weren't drinking. We did not drink, but we passed curfew, and it was heavily frowned upon. It was a good thing that everybody was there.
So who you mentioned a couple other names. You got
Lonnie Akers, Vince Chartier.
Vince Chartier, okay. Lonnie Akers, Rob Shanis. You had Luke Tremblay, Robert Caron. Yeah. That's a neat time. It'd be cool to look back on these years from now on. Who were all the senior boy singles that played at the YBC championships across from the early 90s all the way up to the 2000s, even to now, right? To look at the names across the province and see where their career has taken them. So. Who's ever a stat nerd out there that wants to pull all of the YBC seniors and juniors and the ladies, we can do a segment on where are they now.
That would be cool.
So that was that year where that 92 Nationals was in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Wow.
We played at Dakota.
Yeah.
You know what? Wow. I'm really upset over that. I hate match play. I hate match play because I averaged 262 for the 22 games, and I finished third. Rob Shanis averaged 247, who was what was his record? I think he ended up finishing 4th, or maybe it was 5th. And then Vince averaged 226, and Luke was, I think, 230 or something. It just shows you that match play is different than free fall or total pinfall. That's why I'm always a fan of total pinfall. The guy who knocks down the most pins wins.
Right.
This ain't golf, son.
Yeah. I mean, I think Steve. Yeah. I consulted Steve on that, and we both have the same opinion on that one. Is that we're. Yeah.
But if you're playing in a tournament, you'd play 20 games. So that's where a good point here is you've got coming up about your 20-game marathons, your 50-game marathons. You'd prefer that straight at the end of 20 games, the winner is the winner, versus you play 8 games, you qualify, you're gonna then play your match play down like a bracket system.
Yeah, every game or any twist to the thing is great. Like I look at all the tournaments that you've got. You got the Autumn Open, you got the TPC, you got the Classic, and each one of them has its own twists to it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Regina's ultimately, I guess, is sort of more along the lines of the same old KG, right? What they've done in Red Deer, I think, is very unique. I've never played that. I'd love to go and play Red Deer.
Yeah.
In fact, Tweety owes me a free shift there. I have not forgotten picking up his sled in Comox and bringing it down to my house. So, Tweety, if you're out there, I'm still expecting a free entry.
He's there.
He's out there.
Yeah. I agree with you, Shaun, but I think a little bit of a mixture. That's why I like Autumn, and that's why I like Red Deer's format so much, because there's a little bit of a mixture of both. You still have to win your match, but you're not necessarily getting penalized on a match loss so much with your total pinfall, right?
Well, the difference between 10 and 20. The 20-game pinfall and the 50-game pinfall, there's almost tournaments within the tournaments as well, right? So there's payouts for 5-game blocks, 10-game blocks. So there's different ways of earning cash that way to keep you engaged.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I agree. Sure. I like both formats. I like pinfall tournaments. I like match play tournaments, but they're different. One is trying to find a rhythm and just stay with it the entire time and whatnot, and the other one is, you know, having to throw big shots when it matters. And I think those are two completely different games, really. I like both for different reasons, for sure.
I think, and when you're talking about like a 20-game marathon or like a 50-game marathon, to be honest with you, I talked to Ray about the 20-gamer, and we adopted it here in Sherwood Park, and I don't even think I would play my 20-gamer. If one, I'm out of shape, and two, I just don't have the attention span to play 20 games. But
we do for the Open, though, I guess, right? We do 10 on Saturday, 10 on Sunday, 20 games. So you have to treat it.
10 games. It's 10 games each day. It's a lot different, and I'm sore after 10 games.
Still a 20-game tournament, right? That's your total pinfall.
Do the 50.
Yeah, Tim, go deep in a you know, a TPC or a Regina, you know what it's like to throw 20
actually, Kerry has the stats. Whenever I ever gone deep in a 3-game match play,
that's my point. That is my point.
That's what we're talking about.
That's why you don't know what it's like.
I know Bruce. Well, there's been a couple guys who went up both sides.
Brad Mowens has done it. Bruce has done it. I think Jackson did it too.
Yeah.
Well, I went up both sides and then lost in the B final, so I played every possible game, which was 33 games.
Jackson did it in KG. I think Bruce did in KG and TPC.
Hey, just to say, I see a comment there from Jeff about the 92 senior boys at Rossmere. It was not Rossmere. It was Dakota. Who's Chad? Where's Chad Van Dale's place?
That's Dakota. Yeah.
That's Dakota.
It was Dakota. It wasn't Rossmere. I know that. I was there.
Here's Don Sim. It's 1964, 65.
Yeah. So
50 gamer, 22 hours, Lougheed Lane.
So
50 games.
The 250 gamers I played in was at Lougheed. And it wasn't for us when we played. It wasn't 22. It was 27.
So 50 games consecutive in a row. Like, let's lock it in, guys.
I mean, we literally got the ferry across. Okay, we got and so. Oh boy, how old was I? I played with Russ Hunt and Roddy Mack. It was 87 and 88 that I played, I want to say it was. And 87, anyway, 7 o'clock boat from Victoria. And we started bowling at 10 o'clock that night. And we finished at 1 o'clock in the afternoon the following day.
Wow. That's a long day, playing 50 games in a row. I mean, I did the 20, and I think I quit after 12, didn't I, Tim? If you have yours.
Well, you went for a nap in the back.
Your quote was, Kara paid for me to be here. I don't have to be here. See you later.
I've been here. I'm here. Time to go. See ya.
I think that's.
I like the idea of a 20 gamer. I mean, but it's a grind. I mean, 50 games. Wow, to do something that different too, you'd have to have the right people, right mix. I mean, you can't go 4 people per lane. Like, how do you?
Oh,
No, it was three. It was 3 to a lane. You had to reserve the lanes in advance, and it was full.
That's a different beast too, right? Like that's the difference between a sprinter and a marathoner, right? They're two totally different events.
I'll tell you what, and that's where some guys look at. I'm not going to say some guys. You know, a lot of the, I'm going to say the kids now, but I mean, I throw hard or firm, but it's somewhat effortlessly for the way I throw, right? Whereas I'm going to say the likes of we'll go back to Fred Hickey or even you probably know Paul Kitamura. They were real finesse players, and they could do it day in and day out continuously. So when they looked at the guys who threw really hard, they ultimately they outlasted a lot of the guys that were really throwing hard.
It'd be just for the sake of acquiring some stats, any old stats of these 20 gamers or the 50 gamers. Where's a C5 record of a 50 game, tournament, or a 30 game or a 40 game. So maybe somebody needs to start one, and then we have some stats to go on. Or Don Sim, you might have a pickle full of stats on 50 gamers. So let's see.
I kind of like that idea though, right? Like you have certain people that would like the 50 game marathons, and you have other guys that like the TPC setup where it's more of a sprint setup. The comparison in running to bowling, there's comparisons to be made that way too, right?
Yeah.
Let's chat a little bit about Steve Barker. That sort of piqued my interest. He made a comment there. You guys will have to help me understand that. Wrote up a proposal for the province to bring up using a bonus pins format for singles nationals. The highest average over 20 plus games has finished 5th and averaged 15 to 20 pins above gold.
Yeah.
Explain that a little bit for me. Help me.
So it'd be like no different than probably the Autumn Open kind of, or the Heritage.
Yeah, exactly. So he wrote up a proposal because it sounds like they were running a match play or the YBC Nationals. Yeah, so it is a match play format that they're normally running. But he's saying the highest average in the match play format has finished 5th, and 15 to 20 pins higher than what gold was. So when he wrote up a proposal saying that the Autumn Open sort of style, and I think that's something actually Alberta adopted, right, Tim?
So you get your bonus points for a win. So what he's saying is the person who won the gold didn't actually have the highest average, right? But he won the most games.
Yeah.
That's match play, though, right? I mean, that can be for anything, really.
Sure. Yeah, and there's so many different variations of tournaments and bonus points or qualifying. So there's a place for everything, right?
I guess
the only problem I had with the YBC over the years, when I looked at it, I mean, I bowled in YBC when you only bowled 3 games to win the singles. And then you go to the Nationals and you play all these match play games. And just that change in format alone, I felt that I was much better at playing match play in those scenarios over, because there's more games versus a 3-game kind of pinfall. But you got a pinfall, and then you go to Nationals, and now you play match play, and they're two completely different perspectives. Obviously, the more games you play, ideally the better bowler does come to the top. But maybe in that shorter format, the match play is maybe.
You're probably right, Shaun. I mean, I guess that depends on your provincial body on how they set up their guidelines, right? Are you setting?
They changed now. We're doing a round robin match play.
For sure, and that's what we're doing in Alberta now, and I think they have it right, I think, now, because are we sending the best bowlers before? I think we're probably saying the best bowlers now, right? I mean, the way we are doing it compared to the way, because you could have a 4 easy games or 5 easy games, and all of a sudden it just get, I think the way they do it now is way better for us, at least on our end. So
I agree.
Yeah,
I kind of like this discussion. This is I'll always be on the opposite side of it because I'm looking at it from a media perspective. you can't show a 50-game marathon on YouTube or any of that stuff, but you can show a short format tournament on a media thing, right? So
you could, but you could also do fast forward and do snippets and have the camera rolling and then post edit production. But yes,
money.
yeah, sure. Right.
But yeah, no, I agree. I think the best bowler, if you play 50 games or 100 games, it would probably be your most clean athlete, or I guess the one that doesn't expend a lot of energy would be the one that outlasts everybody, right? That's, like you said, the comparison between a marathon and a sprint.
Yeah, I know.
It's psychological though too. The psychological component of playing 20 games. Typically, out of 20 games, you're going to have a couple bad ones. You're going to have 2 stinkers, or 3 or 4, and it's honestly the guy who doesn't lose it after throwing that first one.
Yeah,
and I mean, you look at shorter versions of them, and you go an 8 game. How many guys throw their entire $180 away because they just threw $190?
Wow, you see, this is evidence of how long it's been to come out to the cash tournaments. They're all 200 now. Like, where you been, man?
It's inflation of bowling
for over a decade for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You have to learn how to, like, take your lumps and move on and move to the next game, because you know what, you shoot your $180. It's not like a 350, which all of us can throw, will balance that out, right? So yeah, just keep your composure for sure.
Well,
to be honest with you, have you seen Tic Tat's leg? It's all bandaged up half the time.
But Bradley, who would do it better on a 50 gamer, Bradley or Tyler? I mean, Bradley's got a way bigger and a harder throw that might be hard to keep after 50, whereas Tyler could almost be automatic there. So
I think just for the form wise, like, not saying that Tyler would beat him every time in 50 games, but I'm just saying his form wise, you would think Tyler would expend a lot less energy over 50 games for sure.
And emotionally, he'll expend much less energy.
Well, the next COVID or the next 5-pin U tournament is going to be a 50 gamer qualifier. So
I will be filming it.
Yeah, instead of an 8 gamer, we're doing a 50 gamer. Thanks, Eby.
Yeah.
We're going to get to the game here at 8 o'clock.
Don, hang on. There's one guy. I have to just, before we get into that one, Don Sim points out a bowler, Norm Goldie. You guys do not know Norm. Norm was a left-handed bowler, and
they're weird. Yeah,
I had the privileges of playing with Norm. He was born with a birth defect. Or hang on, I forget exactly. Don could probably tell me exactly what it is. Anyway, he would strike you as being a straight person. I mean, Norm, from all appearances, was someone that you would never associate with. However, he'd get into a bowling center, he'd be able to turn his hearing aids off. He's deaf. And the guy was a machine.
Wow.
Absolute machine. And he, when I saw him, he was much older, but he was very, very frail looking. But the guy rolled a complete end over end, a little bit of a hook, and he was a machine. So Norm Goldie, yeah, that's funny there.
I can't wait for the days of me having hearing aids so I could do that.
I watch everybody off, right?
I watch my grandpa do it all the time at the bowling alley. It's like, grandma's chirping at him. Hearing aids off. I love it. Working with Tim all day, I'd have those things never turned on. I can't wait for that.
TV now with big, massive headphones too, and he's just like, no, I can't.
Didn't Tweety have those ones? The Gino Z-Bars ones? Those headphones. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we had those ones. Yeah, I remember those ones. Yeah, it was during the
Well, it's, neat to Curtis. Yeah, Deering playing in the dark. Lots of different styles out there. Everybody has a little bit of something. So,
love it.
So we're going to play the What's My Score here, 8 o'clock. I know we'll get ourselves ready and going to get to play. We've got the EB girls who are going to be joining us.
Oh, no.
Right. We've got Shake and Bake, Steve Cummings joining us. Chelsea Ely, we're sending you the link to join us in as well. So Chelsea, better get yourself set up, ready to join in and play some What's My Game. So she's probably
What's my game or what's my score?
What's my score? Yeah, what's my score? So she's probably like, no, but she's in. She's going to be playing.
Unfortunately, none of those groups have joined our back room yet, so we'll wait on them.
Yeah, so Carrie sent the link out to these guys, the back end link. So you gotta go click on it, join the stream, and we'll get you into the show. Shaun, before we get into that, Masters. I know you played the Masters a couple times. Do you remember some of those? Latest with 2014. Here, the Chelsea says no. Anybody else wants to play? What's my score? We could use one more player out there. So we're gonna say they're in.
Oh, sorry, you're talking about 2014?
Yeah. Do you remember Masters 2014?
I remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we remember it. Yeah.
Oh, is there?
2014.
Yeah. Well, that was the most recent one, so I think we have the best memory.
Go back to youth.
Go back to youth.
You know what? There's just different perspectives on reasons why you go to a tournament.
Yeah.
Now, you've played a couple. Now, you were a coach at one of the Masters too.
Yeah, I coached the. Okay, so hang on. I coached a couple of years there. I coached nationally. I think it was 2002. The BC Ladies Tournament Division. 2000. I think it was the C5 mixed team. That's something we can talk about after. That one there talks about because I coached the mixed team, boys versus girls and girls versus boys. From a coaching perspective, there's a lot to be learned from that one. And then the Masters. I guess my first year playing Masters was 95, and yeah, that wasn't a very good outing. I just played very, very well at the KG that year, earlier in February, and then I go back there for the Nationals, and that somewhat mellowed me for about 3 or 4 years. I successfully picked like 17 two-pins for the 21 games of play there. Myself and Kevin and we went head-to-head for 2 pins. I came unglued. I'll tell you what, I did beat Kevin O'Leary all 3 matches in the 5-hole. He was 3 of my 5 wins on that weekend. It was a humbling experience. Masters is a tough format. You're either you know, because there is no out.
There's no sub.
That's right. Yeah.
You can't hide me in that group, and I know that Larry Johnson had hair prior to that. He lost all of his hair after that one.
Yeah, 2014 was a great year, Shaun. Great year.
2014 was great.
Yeah.
It was fun. I mean, the Newfoundland 2004 with Daryl Bailey and Mike Warren and Dick Borgenstrom and Russ Hunt when Russ was playing. I mean, that was, you know what? We were last going into the final day. We were last, and we actually had mathematically an opportunity to win. But Alberta held on there, but we ended up getting to bronze. We definitely made a move on the final day that day.
Nice. Look who's here. Shake and Bake.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy. How's it going?
A little facial hair.
Who's who in this, though? We want to know. Look who's here. Shake and Bake.
Hey, buddy.
Oh,
Delay on the television.
Oh, delay on the television. You might have to go from a different room, Steve.
Or turn the volume off.
Look, turn the TV down, Steve.
Well, my wife's watching it. No? She wants you on the big screen. She's got you on the big screen, Shaun.
I got a really nice picture of Steve sitting here.
Hey, is Hendrickson decent? Can he come on and play What's My Score?
Of course he can if he wants to join. I can send it
You're
to
gonna
him.
have to. No, I'm not giving you any advantage. This is my younger one. You
Miranda
go, back,
went in the game. Yeah.
you go back upstairs. You won't have any problem. Go upstairs.
Why?
Go watch.
He's
Are you
playing the game. He's playing the game with us.
Oh, hang on. There's one out of my family. There's one that would compete against me, and she's asking me, "What's this game?" So go back up there.
We
I'm
want
not
to
giving you any advantage.
look at Sean. Does not
Go
want to.
listen to Daryl.
Sean, when's the last time you beat one of your daughters?
No. You know what? I like my chances at this game against Jen and Michaela. Miranda's a little different, though. Miranda's sharp.
Yeah.
He's quick.
We got to get.
You're gonna get yourself in trouble here, man.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, first Jen was second choice. Now it's this, and
It's like now she's sharp. What are you saying about the other? Like, it's been good knowing you, man.
Yeah, you're gonna get in trouble later.
I love how Brett is implying that Tim is like the COVID groundhog. It's like
We got anybody else coming online there?
I sent the link to Brett. I don't know if he'll accept it. It may be only the 5 of us.
Okay.
Is
Jen
Jen on yet?
Oh, here we go. Brett's here.
Oh.
Not ashamed of the forehead, boys. Hey, 5-acre forehead. Let's go. Let him freak flag fly. Let's go.
Yeah, he's like game on. I got 2 minutes. Let's go. What, you got some poker tables, or you got Cyberpunk playing in the background? What's going on tonight?
I don't know what we're doing. What's going on, guys? Sorry, I couldn't hear what you're saying. I still had the thing open in the background.
Yeah, we're wondering what you're doing. You playing some online poker or Cyberpunk, or what's happening tonight?
Just letting it hang, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what you want from me, man.
Just watching a bowling podcast, eh?
Literally sitting back, just watching the podcast.
Okay, we're ready to go. We're gonna play the game called "What's My Score." We almost need to have like a commercial or something now, Carrie. We need a production something for this.
I totally agree. I will do up a graphic for you, DB.
Craig Sager hosts. Okay, so we play the 8th, 9th, and 10th frame. So what's your maximum score if you bang out the last 3 frames?
135.
Right. Ooh, somebody's quick on it, right? Sean's ready. I'm in. Okay, so I'll explain what your scores was. So it might be strike, chop, this, that, and you got to put your hand up. Put your hand up in front of the camera so I can see it. Don't pull a Steve Barker and do one of these way over to the side, right? And I can't see it. Yeah, right in front. And I'll call on you, and you got to answer the score. First person to get 3 right is the winner, and we might have a 5-pin piece of merch that we can send your way.
Forget about the pen and paper, Sean. Do it in your head.
Yeah. Okay, first one. We ready? Yes, everybody's playing. We got 5 players playing. Here we go. Triple, miss, spare. Shaun Eby.
140, 150.
So hang on.
150.
Oh my God.
Reverse.
Oh, shit. No, I'm over.
Get him out of here.
Oh,
that was
Miranda, come take his chair
never
over.
mind.
Yeah, Dexter, you were second.
118.
No, me.
No, Steve.
110.
110. You're right.
Jeez.
150.
Thanks, John. Hey,
Nearly
Sean, max is 135, buddy.
Okay. Next one. So we got Steve on the board there. Next up, chop off, spare, triple, punch. Steve.
140.
135 is the max.
110.
My calculator broke.
Yeah, 135 is nuts.
I didn't want to make Shaun look bad.
You were so convincing. too.
Hendrickson.
130.
No.
110.
110 again. Shaun gets it. Shaun gets it there.
Holy cow. Shake and bake. Shake and
Wow.
It's a good thing we're pretty.
Jesus.
Okay.
Technical difficulties.
We're going to go
Evie, don't put your head down anymore.
miss,
Keep-
carry, side, 13 count.
Sorry, Ham, what's that again?
2. Right corner, miss 2. Double, 5 and 12.
20.
Tim,
Okay, what was the 10th frame?
double miss.
63.
Yes.
Oh, he got it.
Tim gets one.
Oh boy.
I figured it out. You put out your hand up and ask for forgiveness.
Yeah, I know. Put your hand up and then you can take your time. Okay.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
Right corner spare, left corner spare, right corner spare, left corner. Shaun.
84.
There you go.
Way under 135.
I thought it was 180.
Yeah.
Did you see Tweety's comment? Shaun for the whole game.
Yeah. Okay. Shaun has a chance to win this. So let's go. Punch, clean up. Strike, punch, clean up. Tim.
55.
55 is right. Tim brought your game to
Wow.
Yeah.
You're doing some quizzing at home.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Tim
Next
saw the
one.
answers.
Ready? And triple, miss.
Oh.
Yeah, but when you miss, do you miss to the miss or do the miss to the other side?
You miss to the wide open. Miss, no miss, complete miss.
Okay.
Oh,
Steve,
I've never done that.
100.
you got it. Steve is in. Wow, we got 3 people at 2. Okay.
Is Brett playing?
He just leaves.
Honestly, I have such a headache right now. This is.
Okay, we got one. Here we go, Brett. This is tossing up to you. Spare, bang out. Dexter.
120.
Yeah. Yeah. That was for you, Hendrickson.
Listen, I'm not a quick thinker. Okay, I'm not a quick thinker.
Okay. Oh, thanks, Tweety. Miss Gash. There you go. I got to remember that one. Okay. Triple, right corner, miss. Tim.
120.
Shaun.
116.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
There we go.
Maybe I'll just have to fix my math here, guys, a little bit. 43, 88, 28. 116 is the answer. 116 is the answer. I had to rechange mine. I had 121. I was thinking not. 116. Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner, Carrie. Shaun Eby. See how that worked last week?
You definitely redeemed yourself.
I was dying laughing over here. That was so
Well, you did the 140, and then Steve comes back and hammers home the 140 as well.
After he ripped Shaun apart for it.
Good stuff.
Oh,
Okay,
man.
fellas, thanks for playing, Steve. Brett, good to see you guys. Stay
Brett,
safe.
thanks for bringing your forehead.
Yeah, hey, open for advertising at the next big tournament. We're in the new age, boys. Let's go.
Maybe to do that?
I like your idea. You did say something about interviewing people while we're playing qualifying shifts. 100% the idea. I have, if you want to interview and the guys want to interview, that's my idea, is to sit back in the lounge and hang out and chat to people and film it and get some stuff. So it'd be great to
PPG. Let's go.
get
it
some
done.
content. Yeah, get some content.
All
Okay,
right.
fellas, good to see you. Later.
Thanks, guys.
Oh man,
Oh my goodness.
the first two just cracked me up. I couldn't believe it.
The 140.
That's the one thing that I always pride myself on when people are yelling out scores. I mean, I already know what that magic number is for people. That, Lynn Howell and I, we sit back and we giggle about some of the things that, I don't know, just the way you view scores, right?
How early in a game are you starting to count? From the 225 and 5 or the 180? Where are you starting to sort of, well, my max score could be this, or his max score could be this, or
when you're playing head to head,
or just when you start counting your score, do you mean you guys do that? I mean, I know that if I'm sitting in the 7th, I got another 135 up there. If I'm sitting in the 6th, you got another 180. When do you start counting what my max might be?
Back half.
You know what? I can't honestly, like, in match play scenarios, or if you're playing where you've got to get to a certain cut mark or evaluation that way. You do it from, let's say you got 3 games to play and you need to get to 2150 or 2200 or whatever it may be. I mean, I do the math that way. And I mean, in a particular game, unless I'm playing absolutely heads up, I'm not really focused on that. I am focused on the fact that I know what my maximum score is almost at any point, right? And that I believe, and I've always believed, that if you can throw 1, I can throw 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever, right? For myself, it's about feel, right? And if I'm feeling good, then I know that I can throw a strike.
You guys start counting a little bit, Dex, Tim, Carey? Do you guys start to sort of see, the 225, or how do you?
Usually once I hit frame 6.
Yeah.
Back half. Honestly, if I started off really well, I don't like to think about the end score, because then I'm like, oh yeah, I have a 400 sitting up there, and I usually start you start thinking about 8, 9 or something like that, or having a good score like that. But if you start thinking about frame 6 back half, match play is a little bit different. I think after a couple frames, you start thinking. I always think I'm not necessarily thinking about how many frames or how many points I'm down. I think how many balls I'm down. Yeah. So I think about if I'm down 15 or 30 or 45, I think, hey, I'm only down 2 balls, which is a lot easier in my head than thinking about how many points I'm down, right? Because it's a lot easier to manipulate that in your head than it is points, right?
Yeah, totally.
Sorry, go ahead, Dex.
That's the way I've always thought with match play too, is just trying to be up a certain number of balls as best I can. And that's honestly the years that Freddie was out, Freddie didn't give 2 shits about picking his wood. He did not care about picking pins on head pins. He thought it was stupid. He thought it didn't matter at all. And then I played with him at Masters Nationals, and I told him that. I was like, look, man, I'm picking up these 5 points on the right-hand side because now I'm up 16. Now I'm up a full ball, right? I don't do that. He's within 1 ball of me, and I don't want that, right? And then all of a sudden, his entire attitude changed on it. He was like, that makes total sense. You're trying to keep it out of reach at all times by picking those pins rather than, just hucking at it. So, yeah, you're absolutely right, Tim. I think the same way. I try to be up balls.
If you guys are playing an 8-game qualifier, do you set a score that you want to get to for 4 games, 6 games instead of just the end score?
It's so tough nowadays. And that's where for many years, this is kind of not hypocritical, but it's tough for me to say this. For many years, I had a hard time qualifying for Masters because in Masters, you just have to set a score, right? And with cuts, it used to be 2100, 2150 a lot of times, and you were good for that score, right? And in your head, you can mentally prepare yourself. But now with the scores for cuts, it used to be it's 2200, and there's so many different factors: pace of play. Okay, am I going to play Saturdays? Am I going to play Saturday morning? There's so much to it right now. I'm just trying to execute probably my best game each time I'm playing, and I want to see where it is. And then and as games, I think games 6, 7, 8 are my critical games. I'm worrying about my first 5 to get to my last 3. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then I'll worry about where everything is on the bubble or where I am at that point, right?
So do you have like a 5-game score you're shooting for to set yourself up for the last 3, or are you just trying to repair whatever you did?
I'm hoping around 1600, 1650, and that's where I'm kind of hoping. You're kind of
For 5?
For 5 or for 6?
For 5, 1600. 1600 is nice because that's
1600 for 5 was nice.
real
nice.
For 6. Sorry.
Are you playing What's My Score here with Eby and the Shake and Bake?
Well, no, but there's goals and then there's expectations too, right?
Yeah.
As long as it's a goal and not an expectation. Because the moment you have an expectation of being, 1300 or 1400 for 5, and you don't reach it, what are you doing? And I watch it all the time.
1700 for 6, I think, is a good number.
1700 for 6 is my goal.
Right.
That's what I mean. Like where I can go shoot 500 for my last 2, nothing extraneous where you have to be stupid on that, right? Which is good.
I'm just kind of doing the math all the way along, but like honestly, no, I don't really have it because I don't know. For me, I'm like, okay, I have 8 games. I don't get too upset about a bad game here or a bad game there or whatever. I'm just ultimately just trying to find a rhythm and then just keep that rhythm for as long as I can. It has, to me, I don't. If I have 1200 after 5, okay, like I'm still trying to find that rhythm to push myself to the next level. But yeah, no, I don't really have a goal part way.
I just have a quick follow-up question for Dexter, just because of your situation the last couple of years. Has that mentality changed in the last couple of years, or has that always been your process?
No, I think that's pretty much always been my process. Yeah. I
didn't know if it came with the recent success, if it was just, I can throw 427 out of nowhere and fix a lot of stuff, or if it was just that mentality the whole time.
Yeah, it's kind of the mentality. It's kind of my personality too. Like I never really get too high or too low while I'm playing, and I think that kind of weighs into it too. And I don't think that's. I think people should have goals. I think it's weird that I don't, but like I said, I'm just trying to keep even keel and just try to find a rhythm that I can maintain for a period of time. I'm not gonna be upset if I shoot like a 200, but because I know that I can shoot a 380 right after and cover it up. I find myself not pressuring, but like focusing more at the end of each game, just trying to like maximize points there. But outside of that, I'm not really looking for an actual total number partway through.
I think the interesting thing about this, you guys talked about being down a ball or being down 2 balls. That's a different mentality, and interesting one that I think bowlers should maybe look at. There's, instead of points, is that sort of equated to the poker where you count your big blinds versus the number of chips? A different way of playing. So I liked it, Tim, and that's something that I'll consider going forward. Is instead of thinking I'm down 70 pins or I'm down 60 pins, no, I'm down a ball, and depending on how they're doing it, that's really an interesting mentality way. So,
and Shaun, what are your thoughts? Yeah.
I've always thought of balls.
Yeah, interesting.
But no, and I'll tell you what, if you talk to, I learned from Larry Johnson, Fred, Russ, any of the older guys, I'm sure that was a common process as opposed to 6.
I'm sure I have, but I haven't really thought about it. I mean, I haven't played a ton of match play in tournaments, so I never really thought about that way. It's interesting for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You had mentioned earlier, way back, Shaun, I want to do a little segment on this about brothers bowling. You had mentioned a best brother combination that you ever played with. Tell us more about those fellas.
Daryl and Mark Bailey.
Yeah.
Their dad, Nick, owned the center, Vic Drive. There's 2 players there that, definitely, like Mark he could, like, they as games would throw balls between the pins on command. Like, I mean, obviously they had the lane set up to do so, but they could routinely do that, and they played like silly numbers of games. But those two guys there, from a brother's perspective, and not to disrespect any, the Wisemans or any other brother combinations out there, those two there, from a success rate and from even the longevity of their, I'm going to say, a 20-year career there, those two there, they've got a lot of medals.
Daryl, Mark, I know Daryl Bailey. I don't know Mark as well, but obviously Daryl Bailey, DB, kind of way back when I started my 15 teenagers bowling the Rose Bowl, and Daryl Bailey would be coming out.
Yeah, Daryl corrupted me.
Yeah. Now, let's hear from other people out there. What other brother combinations do we know out there, maybe across the country, that we haven't heard about? It'd be cool to hear some of those. Obviously, in Alberta, we've got the Wiseman brothers. We've got the Titcat brothers. There's definitely got to be plenty more out there of
the Webbers.
And therefore, what about sisters? Right?
Yeah.
There's plenty of those guys. Do you know some of those offhand? Some of the
Sorry, I just got to ask Don's texting me there, or sent a comment. And Wayne Hendry passed away a few years back. Wayne Hendry was one of the. He was from Victoria as well. He won the KG 77. They're done. But yeah, no, Wayne was a machine as well. Super nice guy.
The Sparks, the Sparks sisters.
Sure.
The Marshalls.
Yeah. Marshalls. Yeah.
There's a top 10 list one day, or a top 20 list we could make of siblings, best sibling duos in Canada. Right? Glenn Howard, absolutely. Right?
Yeah. The Youngs.
Right?
The Hendricksons, right? Robbie.
Oh yeah, the Hendricksons. Yeah, the Hendricksons.
Robbie was always good though.
Yeah.
Brett, I don't know if he's been relevant, but Robbie was good.
Oh, Alex.
Yeah.
Barry and who was Barry and who are they were like the bodybuilders, right? They had massive arms. Was that the Ellers? They were twins, weren't they?
Larry and Barry, yeah, Ellers.
Yeah.
Larry and Barry, yeah.
Yeah, sounds like we'll need to submit. We'll formalize something a little bit more official for some top 10 lists, and this is something that we'll come up with. So, yeah.
We love you, Brett. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, he has guys. He has a headache. Leave him alone.
Yeah.
Balls sufficiently busted. I love it.
Let's. We did have one there, obviously, from your wife, Shaun. Jen had mentioned the Eby sisters. Well, it's time to get emotional and all sappy and all that kind of stuff. Now, I know they're watching over there, so let's just beam with some joy about your daughters. No, in all seriousness, no, they've done an outstanding career at YBC. I'd like to hear a little bit more from your perspective, watching your girls grow up and play.
Well, you know what? What's interesting is that someone asked me, is bowling genetics? And it's not bowling genetics. You can learn how to do anything. And, you could say that I coached them from a young age, but it's not. I mean, there's a group of coaches that coach them at Brecken. And each coach has always contributed to them. Both of them started at a very young age. Michaela, I mean, literally, I think I had them throw a ball at age 4 or 3 or whatever it was, like on their own. No rail to roll the ball down on. When I first played with them, there was no bumper. We never played bumpers. I never allowed them to play bumpers. It wasn't about the score that they got, but I mean, they managed to roll the ball down the lane without the bumpers right from a very young age. And I was sort of like my grandma. They had to sit there while I bowled, and then they waited their turn, and they learned all the proper etiquette. Michaela started with I'll call it the sidearm delivery with one hand. She never threw between her legs.
Do they both bowl right-handed right now?
Yeah. They both play right. But they never, either one of them, Michaela never bowled between her legs. Miranda, I think Miranda got started a little earlier, and she threw between her legs, but that she didn't want really any part of that and began to throw from the side. And it was actually Michaela was able, we got her the small balls, so she's got 3 3/4 inch balls. So actually, pardon me, Fred Hickey provided me a duck pin ball, which was smaller yet. So it bounced all over the place down the other end, but she could physically hold on to the ball properly, right? So she never developed a bad habit of cupping the wrist and palming it, essentially. So Michaela learned with that small ball. It was like a 3-inch ball or whatever it was.
So it was a candlepin ball.
A candlepin ball. It was small. It was very small. So Michaela did it that way. Miranda, it was a 2-hand, and I think Tim, you've probably seen her throw a few times. Maybe you guys had all seen her throw at one time, but Miranda basically used her left hand on top of the ball. But I never allowed herself in her backswing to wrap it around her body. She could only bring it so far back, but she could never turn the shoulders, right? And sort of wrap it around her hips. Anyway, she threw it out a lot further than what Michaela ever did. Michaela started and she threw it right almost from the foul line through, right from early on. Anyway, Michaela, if memory serves me correct, I want to say her first year of bowling at age 5, she was in the 80s. By age 6, she'd gone to like a $1.25. 7, 8, 9, she progressed basically up to like the 170-ish range. And I mean, she broke 250 average when she was, I think it was 14 or 15. And as for Miranda actually peaked. Not peaked, that's wrong. But she at age 8, as a bantam, she was throwing 2-handed, and she was throwing 200s.
Mm-hmm.
With her 2-handed.
200, yeah.
And it was a straight up end over end roll. Like it was well done. She did bowl really well, and she went to nationals. She actually went to nationals before Michaela did. Michaela had provincial losses of like literally by pins at that time. So Miranda went to Newfoundland in 2012, and that was the year that the nationals was cut in half. So they only ended up playing one single round robin there because they felt that it was too much bowling for the little ones.
Mm.
And I mean, Miranda, I'll tell you what, Miranda and Michaela at a very young age, they could go down and throw 10, 12, 15, 20 games. I mean, there was nothing back then to just go throw games. I mean, So again, in the job that I was in, I was working shift work at the time. So I was 4 on, 4 off. So it allowed me on my days off, we'd go bowling. So we do that. And that's where the kids really, we practice lots. And I mean, in YBC, I coached the first few years. I got frustrated with coaching YBC because I was not coaching the kids. I was coaching parents how not to coach their kids. Yeah, I think that probably resonates with a number of coaches out there. And I got tired of competing with them. I had kids come to me because I stood back, and then parents came to me afterwards. Oh, can you help my kid out and blah, 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 right? But I didn't coach Michaela Miranda in YBC. So there's, all the coaches. Rob Patterson, who coached me in YBC when I was 8 years old, who actually moved into Nanaimo, he coached them. Wendy Badeau, Linda Charbonneau. Ray's had his moments in there with them as well. I think any person that offers a bit of advice to someone is a good person. I think that as a player, you have to recognize that they're viewing something from you, and it's up to you to determine what that kind of input and how you respond to that input is, because they're observing something that you may have never heard before, or that you understand what they're trying to communicate to you, and you're able to, okay, I know what to fix for that.
Now they've great point about coaching your own kids and trying to do that, and everybody else. That's, like you said, resonates with lots of people. They've had a pretty good, successful youth career and gone to a few YBC nationals. Any stats on there of how many they've been to, or any specific stories that stand out about one of their achievements?
Well, Michaela's been there. I want to say it was 6 times to nationals. And then the 5 times to nationals, and the 6th time was this past year, and due to COVID, she didn't go. Michaela had gone as a singles for all those years. This year she would, or this past year she would have been paired up with her sister. The first out of all the years of bowling YBC where they actually played and competed in the same division, in the seniors division. They were never, and that was never a plan of Jen and mine to space them that far apart, so they never competed in bantams, juniors, and seniors. It just worked out that way. Miranda's been in 2012, and then 2018 as the doubles. So she's got a silver as the bantam singles, and then she was the gold medalist in 2018 with Natalie. So, they've been successful. I mean, provincially, they won here. It would have been really great to have seen them compete nationally. In my own heart, I think that they were arguably the team to really reckon with nationally. Going to the nationals, I could see a number of kids there that I'm going to say they weren't prepared for what they were about to get themselves into. And I felt that, with the support of all the coaches here in Nanaimo and Ray in particular, we gave them the best opportunity each and every time when one of my kids or any of the kids that have gone from Brecken. My nephew, Josh Bergman, he's been to nationals a few times over too. Mm-hmm. So the formula or the recipe for it is not necessarily what you bowl in that moment, but it's how you develop over time and bringing it to that moment.
Now you brought up Josh there. I want to ask, how's he doing these days? So now Josh is a baseball player, and
we're under quarantine with you guys.
He's here. So who's he playing for? What's he signed with? I know he's got a bit of a baseball career built.
He's with the Chicago Cubs.
Okay.
He actually just went through a technical session down in Arizona in October. Again, he had to go through a silly number of tests in and out of the training camp. He's COVID free and all that, and everything's healthy that way. But it was pretty stressful for honestly the whole family, knowing that he was down there and in the hotbed of what was going on with COVID. Mm-hmm. But I mean, there's a perfect example of, I'm going to say just an athlete in general. I mean, Michaela and Miranda both play softball and they both play volleyball and multi-sport athletes. And they played it. There's nothing that they do sort of half-ass, right? And likewise with Josh. I mean, Josh works hard at anything that he does, and baseball's no different. I mean, honestly, he picked up a ball here. We had the 20 gamer. I forget what year it was, but he came back here and I convinced him to just go play. And he hadn't thrown a ball. We went to Newfoundland in 2012. He was there. He actually played against. Hang on. He played against Bradley in 2010 in Toronto. I want to say it was Toronto. Okay. Then he played against Tyler in 2012 in Newfoundland as a junior. Anyway, and Josh hadn't played since then. Actually, I think he went and bowled YBC in Tabor. I convinced him to go in Tabor when so in grade 10 he went to Vauxhall Baseball Academy, and so he had grade 10, grade 11, grade 12 there. Anyway, all that comes and he came home for a 20-game tournament, and up until that point, Josh had not bowled really league play or anything, and so I convinced him to come and bowl with me in the 20-gamer, and the week before he goes, well, I got to go down and practice, Uncle. So we go down and practice, and I think it was his 4th or 5th game of practice, and he threw his first 400 ever, or 405, right? So I said, there you go, buddy. I said, just like riding a bike. And I mean, mentally mentally is probably the biggest change for him. Not the physical ability to throw the ball is one thing, but it's just the composure throughout a game. Anyway, he goes and throws the 20-gamer. He averages 280 for the 20-gamer, and you look at that from an athlete point, right? And so it was a lot of fun that year, and he hasn't thrown since. I mean, we've occasionally, when he's been home, we'll go down and throw with him. I mean, Michaela always likes beating him up. I mean, Michaela beats just about anybody now, but yeah, so it's funny.
Well, sounds like the family is super competitive and always willing to put something on the line. So it's good.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's crib or not.
Yeah. About 10 minutes roughly left here, just so everybody has an idea. Shaun, what's bucket list? Where are we at? What do you want to do? What's left in bowling for you? Obviously, your kids or yourself. What do we?
I guess there's. I mean, from the side of myself bowling, I haven't thrown the perfect game yet. I've thrown 11 and missed.
Right.
Actually, in that same week, I think Ray Britton threw 11 and missed. Same set of lanes too, 7 and 8 at Brecken. I've done a lot of, I guess, scores and everything else. I definitely like to go and compete nationally. Again, I like the team. You know what? I like the team format. I do put a lot more pressure on myself playing a team format. I can never sort of really relax. I'd like to play nationally as an adult. My brother Dennis did in the C5. I haven't done that nationally. I'd like to do that. So the perfect game. The other aspect of it, and I'm going to say that I got squashed a few years ago in efforts to try and change the game and to bring a little bit of innovation to it. The proprietors, I think there's a number of good proprietors out there. I think the Proprietors Association itself at times stifles a lot of that innovation. Likewise, I think the Bowlers Associations, and I'm going to say Bowlers Associations, so you got the Masters, you got the C5, they have a sense of entitlement that needs to be just gashed. And because the bowlers don't realize that without a successful proprietor, they don't have a playing field.
Amen.
And vice versa, you don't have something to draw, I'm going to say, new athletes to and make them want to play the sport without having, honestly, the elite bowlers. Until you actually see it and bowl it and get a sense of it, you don't know. And so from the youth program level, I think that they need to take a step back and look at what we're doing on the tour. Even these kind of forums, if they're structured in a manner where you could have the competition displayed, thinking outside the box. I really like the league that you guys have done. And the tournament right now, the openness to it is great. And I only have one thing to say that I somewhat disagree with the 8-game tournament, is that you talked about if I qualify out of Brecken, and let's say Duncan is a registered center, there'd be a scenario, let's say if Ray couldn't hold during the process of the playoffs, what difference does it make if I go and bowl in Duncan? It shouldn't make any difference of any center you ever go and bowl in. Because if I qualified out of Duncan, or if I qualified out of Brecken, if you're saying that Duncan's got better scoring than another center that I've qualified out of,
Yeah, I don't think that's.
I don't think it was about the scoring.
Support the proprietor that put you
Yeah.
up, right?
pardon?
It was to support the proprietor that gave you the chance to qualify.
Oh,
So the
okay.
playoff would be held in the same center, so you could show their center on live stream.
Yeah, and
Yeah, okay. So I misunderstood what the reasoning was there. I just because here's the scenario where you guys were talking about, and I don't know if you are, but if you go to play Dawson Creek or Dawson City, is it Dawson Creek or Dawson City?
Dawson Creek, yeah. Dawson City is way further north.
Yeah.
If you go and bowl there, right, out of Edmonton, and then Alberta opens back up, I personally would not have any issue of you bowling out of Edmonton.
Yeah.
Tough luck drive back up there.
You know what, Sean? You know what? If these three tools want to go up there, I say screw them, and they have to go up there again. They have to support that center.
Tim, you're driving us there, so you're the one behind the wheel taking us there. So
Oh yeah, Jesus got the wheel for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but if there is a situation where it comes up where a center can't host the finals or whatever, then we'll make that work too. Yeah.
But yeah, the main idea was to showcase the center that those players got to qualify in.
Yeah,
Totally.
I like all. I mean, I love the idea. I mean, I think I mentioned to Daryl at one time. I did have 5pin.com, right? I had that registered probably almost. I don't know how old you guys are, Dexter, but I had that registered in '95.
Ooh, yeah.
Right. So
that was my first year of bowling.
Okay, so
Oh no,
I
it
had
wasn't.
.com back then. I actually ran a virtual league. Jen Marshall. Well, hang on. Smith, right?
Yeah.
She had. I want to say she got 2 or 3 teams out of Calgary. I had a couple teams out of Nanaimo. I think there was a team out of Saskatchewan and Manitoba. So yeah, no, we did do that, and it was 100% the honor system with the bowlers.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, it was a good little thing. We ran that for a few years. It's somewhat petered out, because the scoring across houses, there is drastic changes or differences.
Yep.
So people don't also know Shaun created the bowling pin splash JPEG and he complains everybody uses it.
Royalties.
Yeah, royalties. Yeah, I haven't seen any royalties in Sean's pocket yet. So, but
no, my only complaint, if you're going to use it, don't bastardize it and gish it and have it all pixelated looking.
Yes. Amen. I hate that.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, it's good.
Put it out in an easy format.
I mean, some of the other things that I've done, and we can talk later, but when it comes to the back end of scoring systems and whatnot, I mean, the Masters is one that I did. I did that back in 1999. The opponent's scoring. No one thought it was possible. And when those stats first came out the first year, they were like, you should have seen people just like staggered looking at them about what opponents' averages were against them and this and that. And it's a whole different thought process, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I look at the way that we, I want to say it, I look at the way we track bowlers. You know, I've often thought about having like a kiosk at every bowling center where you could go in and register your score, similar to what they got in some of the golf courses, right? So you create your player ID, track all your scores, maintain them. You know, you could establish essentially slope ratings, so to speak, for centers, and gather all the scores that a player plays.
Yeah,
And I think it could be
automatic and digital. I think Kerry was talking about that. You know, Google Docs, is there somewhere that could be a shareable document? You're exactly right, just to have people upload their scores, sort of like what the virtual 8 gamer is.
Yeah, I mean, Google Docs is, the spreadsheet is one thing. You need a database.
Yeah. No, but I mean, the ability for players at a center or easy access on their own mobile devices, and maybe it's not a kiosk, but how can they easily access it from across the country so you could create this virtual league? So, you know, it's obviously a bit of a gap from 95 since you did it last to now when we're doing it now, but you know, happy to have that conversation on continuing to push the innovation of stuff. So
yeah, the WCBT is currently working on with a group of people across Canada to develop a master database to find out what a player shoots in the third frame of every game, kind of idea, right? It's going to be searchable.
Well, okay, so you got the varieties of scoring systems, right? You got, I mean, some centers still have Pro Scorer. A lot of them have the frameworks. Some of them have the what do you guys got? Kibuka?
We have Steltronic.
Anyway, but to have an interface so you could just pull up who's bowling on lane 1 on right now.
Yeah, so there's a company out there called Lane Talk that does it for all of this, well, not the States, but all of 10-pin across the world. And we've contacted them a few times because it's amazing. It is amazing. You can search any center that runs the scoring systems, log in, you can see exactly what's happening, ball by ball, exactly what they're doing. They will not touch 5-pin. And I've contacted them twice, and they actually reached out to me a month ago. It was like, hey, we see that you're registered. Why don't you go into this tournament? Because I would love to go into this tournament, but we're 5-pin and you won't support it.
Yeah.
And they're like outright, they're like, we don't have any plans on like doing that anytime soon. And you know, honestly, even if they would just open source it and allow one of our contacts to get into it, I am 100% positive that we can find someone that will work with their system and set it up for 5-pin across the country. Almost guaranteed.
We've got some brilliant minds that are creating databases and spreadsheets and stats, and lots of people reaching out, and Shaun's one of them, and you know, plenty of the guys, Jeff from last week, but lots of guys that, you're right, Dexter, could build something given the opportunity.
Well, I mean, it's a little different now, little different now, but I used to always get frustrated. You get towards the end of even a qualifying round, and you know, you're trying to figure out whether or not you're the doubles winner.
Yeah.
Just to collect your, it was like way after the fact, and then lo and behold, there's errors at times.
You know how you fix that? You get yourself a Blair Tuck.
Yep. Yeah, no errors there.
But there's neat automation, like Jeff in Efficiency was saying last week. You know, it's some of the things that how can we make the game easier and faster and more efficient so that we can continue to push the game forward. There's been some great conversation here tonight. I really like the Tweety one saying the slope ratings for houses. Never really thought about it, but similar to golf courses, there's a slope rating. You know, you travel around to places and maybe you're playing in a scratch tournament, but maybe you're playing in a handicap, but it's based off of the slope rating of a house. So you've got, you know, these pie houses that are out there, or you got the harder ones with terrible or hard pinfall. You know,
I love the whole story. Like, there was a comment further back about Frank Levine.
When he scored the 324.
I mean, have you guys ever talked about that?
The Frank Levine, yeah.
And I mean, I don't care what center you line up, any center, and go and try and average 300, let alone averaging 320. What was it? 329.4, I think it was. And he did it. He was only averaging, I think, halfway through the season. By Christmas, he was like 274.
Yeah, after like the first like month and a half, he was at 244.
And they were doing, basically a substantial amount of money. Larry Johnson is he's got the big story behind that one, but I mean that in itself, there was arguments. Frank was a house player, so if the house suited his ball, I'm sure that probably Stevenson would tell you he was unbeatable.
Yeah.
There was actually apparently another fella from back in Quebec area that was equally, or actually arguably more accurate than he was.
More set.
Yeah.
You're ready. Yeah. More set. Yeah.
Shaun, anything else that you want to chat about here? Anything else on your mind that we want to get out of there before we let you go?
No, you know what, guys, I know we've had interactions over the years, but from my perspective, you guys are doing all the good things, and I think 5-pin needed this. I don't know what you guys would have been doing right at this very moment if we hadn't had COVID. To be honest, I think there's a lot more focus on what can we do, right? What can we do, and let's do this. And other than that, you probably would have been bowling tonight or last night or the night before. But instead, there's a void, and you guys are filling that void. And I think from a bowling perspective across Canada, I think that I'm thankful. I mean, you're my entertainment at times.
Bantering back and forth at each other, yeah, for sure.
You know what? I've seen some of the discussions you had even before. I mean, when you brought Steve on for the match, I thought that really got me intrigued, and so I've been really watching it ever since that sort of announcement. But I had seen the conversation with Doug Mosdell and Lynn Howell. Who else had I seen? I mean, when you can relate to someone and someone throws a name out there that then you get attached to it, right?
Totally.
And
I think what's cool is that when we see a ton of people in the comments here that are watching and participating in this, it's just awesome to see. People across the country, where they are and where they're coming from, and it's Tom Patterson, throws in.
Yeah, you got a Tom Patterson party.
Work to do, Shaun. Yeah.
You know what? The first time I met Tom, there was the Ogopogo tournament in Kelowna. It was a 5-10 game not qualifying, but there was a 10-game tournament and there were 5 rounds. And the very first year I went out there, I ended up bowling with Stan Black. I had no idea who the man was, but
neat.
It was an experience. Anyway, Tom was there. I met Tom there, and that was a great meeting then. And I'd always stayed sort of attached to Tom over the years. I think Bev Giglia won that year. I forget what year it was, 88, 89, somewhere around there.
Right.
But yeah.
Yep. Very cool.
86 Kamloops. 86 Kamloops, that was Ronnie Mack won both sides, I think it was, wasn't it?
There's some old stats in here. And that's what's fun about this is we get to talk about bowling and some of the history and some of these, old names and, bringing up good chats about Joe Krenebetter tonight. Lots of history back in the game. Sean Smith, welcome to the show.
Yeah. You know what? So actually, you know what? There's awkward personalities over the years. There's the guys who are cursing and swearing, and everything else. And I mean, yeah, Stan. I was 14 or 15 when I played there, and he did not have the time or day for me. And he was terrible.
Well, if anybody knows of or wants us to bring on another guest out there, email Carrie at 5pinuniverse.ca. We'll look at the full list. We've got a good list compiled of guests that we think that would be good, but happy to take suggestions.
I gotta put the shout out to Allison. Thanks for suggesting me as a
yeah.
great too. I guess she just made the comment that now I'm bringing all the old people in.
Yeah,
conversation.
Yeah, we posted a couple days early, and we get lots of people to come on and see us, Shaun. So you got to come out to one of the WCPT events, or we'll get a team in when we expand for the Pro League out there in Nanaimo. Get the girls on a team.
Yeah.
We got some tripping going there. So
it's going good.
Anyways, Shaun, thanks for coming on tonight, sharing some good stories. We learned some things that you can score more in 3 frames if you really tried hard. The max score isn't quite 135. We had
those other balls afterwards.
Yeah. We talked a lot about brother duos or sister duos or sibling duos. Great conversation there from people coming in. So, appreciate the feedback. Everybody listening and watching too, are you a subscriber to 5-Pin Universe on YouTube? We're up to 108 or 110. Let's keep that thing going. So open another window, go to 5-Pin Universe and subscribe to our channel. Watch the videos. More trick shots I think we've got planned now that Tim and Dexter don't have the centers open. But we can send them for some trick shots at the lanes.
Can't wait to lob some balls.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it the Flying Eagle?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that for sure. I'm definitely going to destroy a masking unit, but it's going to happen.
Yeah. And Eby, go get some practice in so we can see the shift for the 8 gamer. We want to see a family shift in there. And once we let you go here, we're going to take side bets on who we think is going to be the highest score out of the Eby family.
We'll leave that up for everybody's thoughts.
Honestly, Michaela, unless I beat her, but tie her back. It will be interesting.
Well, Shaun, thank you for coming on. Before we let you go, you can obviously stay on. We'll have a chat afterwards. Sure. But Mike Tweedy sent me a picture, and he's thinking about putting production on these. We were talking about them earlier. It's the Z-Barth canceling headphones. So if you're interested, contact him. He'll probably sell them.
Yeah. There's the merch.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Good stuff.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for coming.